into the details of the motion, I would like to go into history. No sooner than the 8th Senate was inaugurated, His Excellency the Senate President and also some principal officers of the National Assembly were in Maiduguri, the Borno State capital. They paid a courtesy visit on His Excellency the Governor of Borno, Honorable Kashim Shettima. They also paid similar visit to His Royal Highness the Shehu of Borno. In the two courtesy visits, they promised that as soon as they were in Abuja, they will come up with the proposal or a bill to establish the Northeast Development Commission. Viewers may recall that the northeastern part of the country is less patronized in terms of budgetary allocation from independence to date. The statistics are there. In terms of human development indices, Northeast also is the least. Indice in terms of infant mortality, child mortality, infant mortality, the maternal mortality, and at the same time, life expectancy. You will discover that Northeast, compared to other parts of the country, have always been producing the least figures. Then, in addition to that, there is also an endemic poverty in the Northeast from independence to date compared to other geopolitical zones of the country, and hence the emergence of Boko Haram insurgency. Boko Haram insurgency has caused a lot of hardship, untold hardship, to the people of the Northeast. Families, parents are separated from their children, and vice versa. And schools were burned, and other public institutions were also burned. Houses were burnt as a result of that. Northeast Development Commission Bill seeks to address infrastructural deficit in the Northeast. It also seeks to address issues relating to resettlement, reconstruction, and rehabilitation. And also, the bill also seeks to address certain gaps that exist between the Northeast and other geopolitical zones. Because the Commission has the legal framework to function as an agency of government, the international community will be very comfortable dealing with an institution that has a legal framework than maybe an ad hoc arrangement that we are having now. We have ad hoc arrangement like the PCNI, which is an ad hoc arrangement. It has a tenure of 3 years, which came into being as a result of policy decision. But now we have a legal framework backing an agency of government, that is the Northeast Development Commission. So I want to use this medium on behalf of the Northeast Caucus of the National Assembly, thank His Excellency, Mr. President, for making it possible for the establishment of the Northeast Development Commission. I would also like to thank His Excellency, the Senate President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, our Senator, Dr. Abubakar Bukola Saraki, and also Honorable Yakubu Dogara, and all the senators and also members of the National Assembly and other stakeholders, even the general public. Were it not because of the support from the general public, this bill would not have been possible, because general public also contributed by sending memoranda to the committee that called for to the public hearing. So because of that, I would like to also thank the general public for making it possible. So in addition to Northeast Development Commission memorandum, in addition, the motion on the Northeast Development Commission, there are other issues that will be discussed on the floor of the Senate. We have about 16 bills. Various senators will present lead debates on second reading of 16 bills. Most of the bills in my whoop already, they are not new bills because I have already introduced these bills to our viewers in my previous appearance.
Sure.
Because of lack of time, we are not able to take these bills. But from the beginning, we have 3 reports that will be laid on the floor of the Senate. We have 2 reports from Senator John Eno, the Chairman Senate Committee on Finance. Is a senator representing Cross River Central on the company's income tax amendment. Then also the tax incentive management and transparency bill. The 2 reports are ready. The reports will be laid by Senator Eno. Then the third is a report of the Committee on Local and Foreign Debts on approval of Ogun State Development Policy Operation Loan of $350 million. That will be made by Senator Shehu of Kaduna Central.
All right. Distinguished Senator, once again, we thank you for your inputs in our transmission for today. We'll let you get back to the floor of the Senate for deliberation's sake.
Yeah, most welcome.
Thank you very much. So that was the distinguished senator, the Chairman, Senate Committee on Rules and Business. He was talking to us about the passage of the Northeast Development Commission bill, and we are expecting the deliberations on this to commence soonest, and any moment from now we shall cross to the floor of the Senate for today's sitting.
Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, this motion is sponsored by distinguished Senator Danjuma Goje and co-sponsored by all the other senators representing the northeastern states, and of course, many more senators from various parts of the country other than the Northeast. The assent of the Northeast Development Commission bill. The Senate notes that the Northeast Development Commission bill was passed by the National Assembly and assented to by Mr. President CNC on Thursday, the 26th of October 2017. The Senate notes also that the assent to the bill marks the establishment and takeoff of the Northeast Development Commission to, among other things, A, receive and manage funds allocated by the federal government and international donor agencies for the resettlement, rehabilitation, integration, and reconstruction of roads, houses, and business premises of victims of insurgency, as well as tackling the menace of poverty and environmental challenges of the area. B, coordinate projects and programs within the master plan for the rehabilitation, resettlement, reconciliation, reconstruction, and sustainable development of the Northeast Zone in the fields of infrastructure, human and social services, including health and nutrition, education and water supply, agriculture, wealth creation and employment opportunities, urban and rural development and poverty alleviation. C, liaise with federal ministries, departments and agencies, states and development partners on implementation of all measures approved in the master plan for the stabilization and development of the Northeast by the federal government of Nigeria, among others. D, assess and report on any project being funded or carried out in the Northeast by any federal ministry, department, and agency, or a company that has an agreement with the federal government, and ensure that funds released for such projects are utilized. E, liaise with other stakeholders on the tackling of humanitarian, ecological, and environmental problems and degradation that may arise from natural causes, insurgency, and industrial activities in the Northeast Zone, seek humanitarian, human, material, technical, and financial support from development partners, local or international, and non-governmental organizations with a view to developing the Northeast. And F, coordinate civil-military confidence building and stabilization measures, and also activities that lie within the civil-military interface, especially before, during, and after military and security operations, and act as the focal point to coordinate and harmonize all other intervention programs and initiatives that the federal government is involved within the Northeast. The Senate is aware that the establishment of the Commission is a direct response by this administration to address the widespread devastation inflicted on the zone by the activities of the Boko Haram insurgents, which has been around for the past 8 years. The Senate is aware also that the Commission will provide an institutional framework that will ensure transparency, accountability, and prudent management of funds that will build the confidence of donor agencies and foundation towards assisting and funding projects of the Commission. The Senate observes that the Commission will end the huge humanitarian crisis in the Northeast that no other committee or institution could have within the short and long terms. The Senate is convinced that an institution backed by law, the Commission will remain the biggest succor for people of the region that is adjudged to be one of the poorest regions even before the advent of the Boko Haram crisis, because their lives will be rebuilt through its activities. The Senate accordingly resolves to 1, commend the Presidency and C for his assent to the Northeast Development Commission bill and commitment to the plight of the Northeast region. 2, commend the Senate President and the leadership of the Senate and distinguished senators for their support, which would see to the restoration of normal life in the Northeast. 3, urge the federal government to make adequate financial provisions in the 2018 budget for the Commission's appropriate takeoff. And 4, urge donor agencies to continue to support the Northeast through the newly established Commission. I so move, Mr. President.
All right, thank you. Senator Boacha.
Thank you, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues. My name is Emmanuel Boacha. I represent Taraba South. Mr. President, is
Order!
As a stakeholder from this region, I cannot agree less with the sponsor of this motion
Order.
on the issues raised. But let me, Mr. President, emphasize the backwardness of the Northeast region even before the Boko Haram insurgency, that it is a region that had begged for development for long. And it was quite timely, the emergence of the president, the sitting president, though not from the Northeast, but he has had cognate experience of superintendent over affairs of the Northeast, having been a military administrator there, and the Boko Haram insurgency just added salt to injury. The situation of the Northeast can better be described by ways that are not yet available for now. So, Mr. President, I celebrate this motion as a co-sponsor and urge my colleagues to do same. Having said this, let me add a word of caution that it is a commission that has received very great support from all of us, not only from the Northeast. Virtually all the senators in these chambers believe and appreciate what we are going through. The caution is we believe and trust God that those who will come on board to manage this commission will not turn it to a conduit pipe and put our people under a terrible situation as we see some other commissions are being used, because this is a region that is greatly ravaged by poverty. And we believe this is an opportunity for us that our people will enjoy the benefit of governance. And so I thank you, Mr. President, for this opportunity.
Senator Manager.
Mr. President, my respected colleagues, unlike Abuja, I am a stakeholder from outside of the region. Senator James, a War manager, CON, Delta South. Mr. President, my respected colleagues, like I said, I am a stakeholder as a Nigerian from outside of the region, and the Northeast is an important part of this country. And that's the reason why this bill, when it came here for second reading, the debate was very exciting. And everybody, unanimously everybody supported this bill. And now that Mr. President has given his assent to this bill, it has become an act of parliament. And I think it's a very welcome, positive development, for which I am as excited as any other person, and for which I want to sincerely thank Mr. President for doing it expeditiously. And I want to congratulate the Northeasterners, and I want to also thank this Senate and indeed the entire National Assembly. Mr. President, just like Emmanuel Abuja sounded a note of warning, this bill and this particular commission is a commission for the development of the Northeast region of this country. And therefore, those who will finally come on board once appointed must be people of proven integrity. Not just well, people who can manage the scarce resources very well, apply the money to the needs of the people for us to see the speedy development of that part of Nigeria. Mr. President, the other thing I want to say that I am an Igbo-speaking South-South man. In the South-South, I know that some of my brothers and sisters also speak Igbo language. But there was the Southeast Development Bill that came to this Senate. And of course, it received almost 85% support of the senators. Mr. President, my respected colleagues, for over 1 year now, I have traveled parts of the Southeast. And sadly, almost all the federal roads in the Southeast have collapsed. And therefore, entry and exit of the Southeast have become increasingly difficult and painful. Only Monday, 2 days ago, day before yesterday, in company of the chairman of the committee on power, my immediate successor, we tried to enter Southeast from Port Harcourt, my first time in about 5 years. And believe you me, Mr. President, that region, I'm not from there, I don't speak Igbo. Apart from Kedu, I don't understand any other thing. Apart from Kedu, Udema, I don't speak Igbo. But as a stakeholder from outside of the Southeast region, Mr. President, my respected colleagues, that region needs very urgent federal attention. If for any reason road contracts have been awarded and nothing has been done, something must be done in the Southeast. Because I have seen that all the federal roads have collapsed. All the federal roads have collapsed. And therefore, Southeast Development Bill that we passed, we read on the floor of this Senate must be worked upon expeditiously, just like the Northeast Development Bill that has been assented to by Mr. President. Mr. President, my respected colleagues, I speak as a concerned Nigerian. Because anything, anywhere in this country, it may be affecting the people directly, it will also affect you. And that's the reason why I'm speaking this way very passionately, Mr. President. My respected colleagues, I don't know where that bill is now. I'm sure it came here for second reading. We worked on it, and we passed it for second reading. I don't know where that bill is now. If that bill is ready, bring it to the floor. Let us also pass that one. And Mr. President, from the mood that I saw Mr. President 2 days ago, Mr. President will also give his assent to that bill. Mr. President, I beg to make my case. Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, thank you. Senator Wakil.
Your Excellency, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, my name is Senator Malam Ali Wakili, MNI. Sure, we are jealous of this MNI. I look forward. It's a great day for me personally, sir. But let me begin as a historian, sir. I will first thank God, and thereafter I will pay tribute to my former colleague, Senator Sekibo. If all of us will recall that when this Senate was inaugurated, a week thereafter, Senator Sekibo brought out a motion that had to deal with the condition of those of us in the Northeast. Today he's not here. I am taking this opportunity to pay tribute to him and to thank him on behalf of my constituents and those of us from the Northeast. Secondly, I need to thank Senator Kabiru Gaya. When he brought his own motion, his own bill, sir, those of us from the Northeast had one that was more encompassing. He willingly agreed for us to consolidate the bill and present it to you people. Thirdly, I need to thank all of you here, sir, for your dexterity, for your focus to ensure that that Development Commission was established. You remember when there was a little bit of micronationalism between I and Senator Kaka and Senator Bayero. You people used your wisdom to come in and appointed a committee under distinguished Senator Egu that sorted out the issue of the headquarters. Well, thank you. We did that one not because there was squabble between those of us in the Northeast. No, but because we are representative of our various communities and we have to aggregate their opinion. We thank you for aggregating it in the best interest of those of us from the Northeast. I wish to assure this distinguished Senate, whether some of us are in or out after some time, will ensure that the concept of this Northeast Development Commission is not derailed. We'll keep a tab on those of them to be appointed because our people are really suffering. We need education. We need infrastructural development. We need agriculture. We need empowerment. We need financial inclusiveness. I thank you for the opportunity, and may God bless you, and may God bless Nigeria. Thank you, sir.
Senator Kwakwaso.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. My name is Rabi Musa Kwankwaso, representing Kano Central. Mr. President, I'm sure you remember that when this bill was passed by this honored chamber, Kano and Plateau states were part of this bill. But along the line, the two states were removed. Mr. President, while congratulating all the states in the Northeast for this commission, and also while thanking Mr. President for assenting this bill, Mr. President, I want to say that I hope at an appropriate time, when an amendment is brought to this chamber to include Kano State and Plateau State on this commission, the Chamber will support the amendment so that those states that have suffered the negative effect of the Boko Haram or insecurity in the Northeast will also be included. Thank you, Mr. President.
Chairman Bruce.
Thank you, Mr. President. My name is Ben Murray Bruce, representing Bayelsa East. While I congratulate the Northeast, my brothers and sisters from the Northeast, with this bill, let me explain some of the difficulties we are about to encounter. All the commissions are set up to look at the South-South, and from my experience, NDDC, they have been a monumental failure. And I say so, and I want to choose my words very carefully. In Bayelsa East, I went for inspection of projects done by the NDDC. And I don't think more than 10% of the projects were even completed. They had a 90% failure rate. And I will publish it. When myself, led by Shehu Sani, went to the Northeast, and we saw the corruption in how funds were spent to help innocent people in the area, I got very worried. Thirdly, when we set up these commissions, a great part of the budget is spent on overhead. If you go to the offices, it's like a marketplace. Everybody's doing deals. It makes me wonder, even though I voted for this bill, it makes me wonder whether maybe the money should go to the state governments to run their affairs. Give them the extra money. I'm beginning to wonder if I made the right decision to vote for the bill. Please forgive me. Please forgive me. Because the experience I have had has been so bad, in the South-South. I begin to wonder, my brothers and sisters, do not be offended. Do not be offended. Maybe the state governments should have these extra funds to look after the area in the Northeast and not a special commission. Please forgive me. My experience...
The train has left the station.
Yeah, all right, okay, all right. If that is the case, wait. If that is the case, please, if that is the case, I urge, Mr. President, can I speak to you directly? President Muhammadu Buhari, I'm going to speak to you directly. Now, Mr. President, I suggest, as we set up these commissions, you ask that we build a very big prison to be ready.
Sorry, you have to address the Senate, not the President. You need to address the Senate, not the President.
To prison for committing fraud.
Put on your microphone. Just address the Senate, not the President Buhari.
Sit down.
Yes, my microphone was switched off on purpose. My advice is that we should be careful with all these multiple commissions we are setting up. It has passed into law, we agree. But if 50% of the budget is spent on overhead, then we defeat the purpose for which it was set up. We have a very bad experience in the South-South. The Southeast needs a bill, the Northeast has gotten a bill. Please, I urge you, when this is set up, when the people are appointed, let the government appoint people who care about those who are suffering, who need help, and who they intend to look after and not to enrich themselves. Thank you, Mr. President.
Shehu Sani.
Mr. President, I stand as Comrade Senator Shehu Sani to add my voice to this motion. Mr. President, this bill is a trigger to a new dawn in the northeastern part of Nigeria. And all has been said. But what is most important is that this bill will initiate a process to which poverty and human degradation that has been the factor in instigating violence and crisis in Northeast will actually be addressed. I have listened to contributions from the earlier speakers, and all that is necessary for us is to learn lessons from the failures of the past. As the committee, as the bill is being assented to, and a commission is going to be established, I think there should be priorities. The basic objective and goals to which these bills were set to achieve must be the focus of the commissions in the future. There is no doubt about it, Nigerians are unanimous in the very sense that the crisis and violence in the Northeast threatens the peace, the unity, and stability of this country. And it is also a fact that all parts of Nigeria needs development. But most importantly, the Northeast is most crucial. We must thank Mr. President. We must thank all those who supported this bill. This is a history in the making. A history has been made by the 8th Senate, and this will be part of the legacy of this administration. And I believe that what has been done today will not serve this generation, but generations to come. I thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you, Mr. President, my distinguished colleagues, Senator Marafa, representing Zamfara Central. Mr. President, I rise to congratulate the people of Northeast region and to congratulate Mr. President for assenting to this very important bill. But let me say I am one of the few people that opposed this bill during its second reading because I believe that is not the way to go about it in the first place. I do believe that Northeast suffered a very terrible and devastating war called Boko Haram. But I believe that time that what Northeast requires was an ad hoc arrangement that would solve the problems caused by the war on Boko Haram, and not a permanent structure that would bring about infrastructure and everything that will take the necessary money. And my second reason was there was no justice in the bill because Kano and the Plateau State and some parts of even the FCT suffered consequences of Boko Haram, and we felt they must be included. So in the wise of this, in the thinking of this chamber, we included Kano and the Plateau State as part of the bill. But as it came out during the conference committee, Kano and the Plateau were shoved out. And we have no misgivings because what we did in good faith, and what the people did also, I believe they did it in their own thinking. So I want to congratulate them and join my other colleagues in calling on them to focus on the problems for which the commission is established. Having said this, Mr. President, I want also to bring to the notice of Nigerians and this chamber, like what other people said, every part of Nigeria requires development. And some of my colleagues talked about the Southeast Commission. We heard about the Lagos problem. We know the infrastructure in the Southwest. We know the South-South. Mr. President, I was a member of the 7th Assembly. And throughout the lifespan of that 7th Assembly, I brought before this chamber a very worrisome development in my home state and some adjoining states in the Northwest. What I tagged that time as Noma and the Kio Haram, literally meaning that this one is called Boko Haram, that is people that doesn't want Western education. We have a menace now in the Northwest especially, but not limited to us alone, but it's more prevalent in our states of Kebbi, Niger, Kaduna, Katsina, and Zamfara state. Mr. President, as I'm talking to you today, every blessed day, somebody or some people are killed in Zamfara state. And because we don't make too much noise, it is more like it's being swept under the carpet. Today, as I'm talking to you, Mr. President, from that time to this date, more than 5,000 people are killed in cold blood in Zamfara state. Yes, even last week, the army formation in Shinkafi were attacked and about 4 soldiers were killed. That is not to talk about the civilian people that are being killed on a daily basis. As a result, Mr. President, today as I'm talking to you, most part of these actors that I mentioned, Niger, Kebbi, Zamfara, Sokoto, and the Katsina State, is highly kind of militarized. People are manufacturing weapons every day, and all our youth today are bearing arms, very, very dangerous arms. So I'm calling on this chamber to also, or not to lose sight of these problems, so that when this kind of problems come from other zones, our brothers from Northeast will also support in solving these problems. Yes, for Northwest, because everybody is a senator representing a particular zone before the other zones, but I do mention that I know there are these problems from different parts of my country. We receive a bill from Northeast, we receive one for Lagos and everything. Mr. President.
Put on your microphone.
It's good for the gander. So we are suffering in silence, but as we are doing that, we congratulate them, and we hope by the time we come with our own request, it would also be looked into and appropriate solutions provided on it. I thank you, Mr. President.
Please, if we keep our contributions simple and straight, I'm sure more people will be able to take advantage. Finally, let's Senator Tanya, then we'll put the question.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President. Very distinguished colleagues. My name is Senator Sam Ajangu. I represent Imo East in Imo State. I want to bring congratulations from the Southeast to our people, our brothers from the Northeast. I want to confine myself with this motion. I wouldn't want to speak outside this motion, Mr. President. I just want to say, congratulate all of us in this Senate. We have shown truly and indeed one united nation, one united Nigeria. And I want to say, the cry of the people from the Northeast was heard by the people from the Southeast. That was why we supported this bill. I want to say a very big congratulations to our brothers from the Southeast with Northeast. With this, I'm sure the restructuring have started. And I believe that when it comes to other zones, that we should also do justice to such situation. I want to say a very big congratulations and to say that what is good for the goose is also good for the gander. Thank you, Mr. President.
All right, distinguished colleagues, on behalf of all of us, first we'd like to thank the President for assenting to this bill, and then to commend our colleagues from the Northeast for their effort to ensure that this bill is passed. And I think this is our major contribution to the development of the Northeast, especially the areas that are ravaged by the crisis. Our appeal, therefore, is to ensure that this commission will address the humanitarian crisis in the Northeast effectively. And let me use this opportunity, too, to commend our armed forces that have provided the enabling environment for this rehabilitation to commence in earnest. They've done extremely well, and we're indeed very proud of them. We believe that the Senate has shown sufficient commitment to the development of Nigeria and also meeting the aspirations of our people, irrespective of the part that is concerned. So on this note, again, I would like to commend all of you for a show of concern and support to the Northeast. That's the character of this Senate. We have shown that we are one Senate. We have shown that we are senators of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. And what concerns any part of Nigeria concerns all of us. I believe going forward, we'll continue in this direction to continue to show Nigerians that we're indeed mindful of the concerns and problems of Nigerians, irrespective of the part. So our prayer and hope is that this will translate into a better life for the people of Northeast, and that this crisis will be a thing of the past. So having said this, let me go straight to the prayers. Prayer 1, commend the presidency in C for its assent to the Northeast Development Commission Bill and commitment to the plight of the Northeast region. Those in support of this prayer say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Prayer 2, commend the Senate President and the leadership of the Senate and distinguished senators for their support, which would see to the restoration of normal life in the Northeast. Those in support of this prayer say aye. Those against say nay. Amendment, Senator Ochendo.
Thank you, Your Excellency, the Senate President, my distinguished colleagues. My name is Senator T.A. Orji Ochendo. I represent Abuja Central. My amendment to this tool is commend the Senate President and the leadership of the Senate and distinguished senators of the 8th Senate for their initiation and support of this bill, which will see to the restoration of normal life in the Northeast. I so move.
Is there anybody seconding the amendment? Yes, Basil. Yes.
Gershon Bassi, Cross River South. I second the amendment as moved by Senator Orji.
All right. So the prayer will now read, commend the Senate President and the leadership of the Senate and the 6 senators of the 8th Senate for their support, which will see to the restoration of normal life in the Northeast. Those in support of this prayer, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Prayer 3, urge the federal government to make adequate financial provisions in the 2018 budget for the Commission's appropriate takeoff. Those in support of this prayer, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Finally, urge the donor agencies to continue to support the Northeast through the newly established commission. Those in support of this, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Additional prayer. Jubril.
Thank you, Mr. President. I am Barrow Jibrin. I represent Kano North. The additional prayer is this, Mr. President, that whenever in the future there will be an amendment to the bill, to the act, that Kano and Plateau should be included. I so move, Mr. President.
Senator Bassi Haban. Yes, you're standing. Okay. No. If you want, unless you want to have your own additional prayer, you can second the one. Yes, go ahead. Are you seconding his own additional prayer? Or you want your own? Are you seconding it? Eh? No. Okay, so nobody seconding it. Yes, Husseini.
Thank you, President. My colleague, I support. I support the additional prayer by Barao. Because Kano and Plateau were included, but when the whole thing went to the committee, they removed it, and nobody said anything about it again, and we have problems. Even 1-2 weeks ago, killing is still going on in those places, and burning and damaging of places going on. So I strongly support.
The additional prayer is that whenever an amendment comes up to this bill, that Kano and Plateau should be included. Those are in support of this additional prayer, say aye. Those against, say nay. Those in support of the additional prayer, say aye. We are talking about whenever it comes now. Those in support of this additional prayer, say aye. Those against, say nay. The nays have it. Senate Leader.
Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, Mr. President, order! Mr. President, order! Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, Mr. President, before I go to the next order, let me express my happiness and gratitude and make the announcement. The minority leader was here and was trying to find out if you have space for him. Minority leader, I want to assure you that you have a space. And it's better you take what we have before we close our gate. Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, lying on order 1B, Mr. President, and in consultation with some of our colleagues who have bills for second reading, I want to propose an rearrangement of our order paper. Now, we take the 14th order of the day in place of the second order, and thereafter we follow the order as arranged in our order paper. So the second order of the day is the second reading of the Federal Polytechnic Salami, Sokoto, Establishment, etc. Bill 2017. Distinguished senators will recall that the bill was read the first time in this chamber on Tuesday, 13th December 2016. Mr. President, you may wish to invite Senator Ali Wamako to move the motion for the bill to be read a second time.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, the Senate leader has just moved a motion that we suspend the 14th order of the day.
No, it doesn't require any second. I'll just invite Wamako.
President, you must indulge me to at least just, even if I depend on Order 43 in terms of personal explanation, I actually sat near to him when trying to whisper into his ear that he has always been in opposition, and since 1999, that since he's not used to government, that I think he should come over to this side and then join us. Because all along, Senator Lawan has never experienced government. So, as he was sitting, I said, you are not looking comfortable here. That the way I see you, you should actually be sitting on this side, because we are used to being out of government from 1999. So, distinguished Senator, it wasn't, if you don't agree with me, please don't twist it. Just leave it the way it is.
Okay, don't worry. Oviedu, thank you so much.
Mr. President, I assure you I will continue to make efforts until the distinguished Senate leader decides to come to where he rightly belongs, which is the opposition.
Well, here we are serving the same people of Nigeria, whether in PDP or APC. Anyway, before I invite Wamako, please let me also apologize to those who were unable to contribute during the debate on the last motion. If you look at our list today, I think it's very long, so I just appeal for your understanding. And I'm sure going forward, I'm sure you'll have opportunity of contributing to the day's business. Senator Wamako.
Mr. President, my dear colleagues, I'm highly honored to have the privilege of leading Ali Ebomoko by name, Prince of North Central District of Sokoto State. And I'm honored to lead the debate on this bill, establish Federal Polytechnic and Silame in Sokoto State. Mr. President, my colleagues, permit me to lead the debate of this very important bill as earlier outlined. The bill was first read in this hallowed chamber on Tuesday, 13 December 2016, Mr. President. My dear colleagues, this bill seeks to establish Federal Polytechnic Silame of the state and to make comprehensive provisions for its due management and administration. The establishment of this institution is informed by the imperative to create more access to higher technical education in view of the large number of qualified candidates who are annually stranded in their failed attempts in gaining admission into higher institutions in the northwest region of this country. So the objective of this polytechnic shall be A, provide full-time or part-time courses of instruction and training, Roman 1, in technology and applied science, commerce and management, and Roman 2, in such other fields of applied learning relevant to the needs of the development of Nigeria in the area of industrial and agricultural production and distribution for research, the development and adoption of techniques as the Council may from time determine. B, to arrange conferences, seminars, and study groups relative to the fields of learning as specified in paragraph A of this subsection 1 above. C, to perform such other functions as, in the opinion of council, may provide, promote the objectives of polytechnics of the polytechnic. D, to encourage the advancement of learning and to hold out to all persons without distinction of race, creed, sex, or political conviction the opportunity of acquiring higher and liberal education. E, provide courses of instruction and other facilities for the pursuit of learning in all its branches and make those facilities available on proper terms to such persons as are equipped to benefit from them. F, to encourage and promote scholarship and the conduct of research in restricted fields of learning and human endeavor. G, relate its activities to social, cultural, and economic needs of the people of Nigeria. And the G, and H, undertakes such other activities appropriate for the polytechnic of highest standard. Mr. President, my dear colleagues, our economy has a very high potential and requires high-level technical, scientific, and effective skills to drive it. So the subject of this polytechnic will go a long way in achieving this goal, Mr. President. The polytechnic, Mr. President, by my highly respected colleagues, is expected to midwife high-level manpower development in the technology sector, which are germane to national growth and development. Mr. President, my dear colleagues, this bill is well organized for its very own purpose of a modern academic and research institution. The objective of this polytechnic is articulated above are supportive of its mission and broad vision for modern institution that will develop world-class human resources that can sustainably manage our nation's economy by providing technical and management expertise at the highest level. The polytechnic is therefore further advance knowledge through research and nurture unique innovations, entrepreneurship, and wealth management in its core area of interest. The economic development and progress of any nation depends to a large extent on technological developments. The technology subsector plays a major role in the economic development and progress of any nation. It is one of the indicators of measuring national growth or level of development of any nation, Mr. President. Developing an international reputation for excellence in the field of technology requires a polytechnic that is focused and committed into teaching and research in technological sciences disciplines. The polytechnic, like its counterpart in other parts of the world, is a multidisciplinary space for education, research, understanding science, and innovation to tackle technological challenges bedeviling our nation. Mr. President, my dear colleagues, the enactment of this bill will help in transforming the educational fortunes of Nigeria in producing the desired manpower and expertise that Nigeria is yearning for. It is therefore important, Mr. President, to note that in line with our Senate Order 73, subsection 3, the conforming of financial implication is hereby attached. But equally, Mr. President, important is that the state government is willing and ready to provide temporary structures and support the temporary settlement of this before the federal government comes in to do the necessary. I therefore urge all my colleagues to support this bill. I thank you, Mr. President.
Sir Gobe. Thank you very much, Your Excellency, my very respected colleagues. I stand to support this very important bill wholeheartedly because of the following reasons. The first polytechnic we had in Sokoto was that of London Kebbi, what they call Waziri Polytechnic. But with the creation of Kebbi State, that polytechnic remains in Kebbi. Now, the next one, of course, was the Abdu Polytechnic, the Federal Polytechnic in Kauranamoda, before the creation of Zamfara State. Then immediately after the creation of Zamfara State, that polytechnic is now in Zamfara State. So it means that we don't have any polytechnic in that area. And where it is going to be established in Silame, this is a very ideal area. Silame is located in the southwestern part of Sokoto, and that place is very ideal. It has a very large number of people coming out of secondary school who want to go to polytechnic to be engineers, some of them to be technicians and artisans. And with this, we will be able to develop the economy of not only that of Sokoto State, but the entire Nigeria. So I support this bill. It's very important. I also commend the mover of this bill. And I would like every one of us here to support this bill for its speedy passage. Thank you very much, Your Excellency.
Is there any person against this bill? Those support that this bill be read second time, say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Clerk of Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, the bill for an act to establish the Federal Polytechnic Silame, Sokoto State, to provide full-time courses in technology, applied science management, and other field of studies, and to make provisions for the general administration of such polytechnic and for other related matters, 2017, second reading.
Dear colleagues, a bill for an act to establish the Federal Polytechnic Silame, Sokoto State to provide full-time courses in technology, applied science management, and other field of studies, and to make provisions for the general administration of such polytechnics and for other related matters, 2017, second reading taken, as now referred to the Committee on Tertiary Education to report back in 2 weeks. State Leader.
Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, the third order of the day, second reading of the Nigerian Tax Academy Establishment, etc. Bill 2017. Distinguished senators will recall that the bill was read the first time in this chamber on Thursday, the 17th of November 2016. Mr. President, we wish to invite very distinguished Senator Ali Abdullahi to move the motion for the bill to be read a second time.
Senator Abdullahi.
Thank you, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues. Aliu Sabi Abdullahi, Niger North. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, it is another singular honor to stand before you all to lead the debate on a bill for an act to establish the Nigerian Tax Academy, to provide training, develop standard curriculum for continuing education of tax administration, administrators, and collectors, to facilitate effective service delivery and for other related matters. The bill was read the first time on Thursday, 17 November 2016 in this chamber. This bill is another contribution to the attainment of the noble goals and objectives we all agreed and set in the legislative agenda of the 8th Senate, and our passionate desire to reform the delivery of government services and enhance performance of government ministries, departments, and agencies in general, and specifically the tax administration agencies to enhance revenue collection. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, according to the Honorable Minister of Finance, this administration is committed to diversifying the sources of government revenue by significantly increasing tax to gross domestic product ratio, among other things. The attainment of this laudable objective will require an overhaul of the tax system. Tax administration is the framework upon which Nigeria's tax system is based. It deals with the powers and duties of relevant tax authorities as contained in the tax laws. Tax administration involves the procedures, principles, and strategies adopted by any government to achieve effective tax planning, compulsory levying of tax, easy collection, and proper accounting and utilization of the revenue collected. Therefore, taxation is a dynamic subject which grows with constant changes in the economic environment in which it operates. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, experts are in total agreement that capable, skilled, and competent personnel are at the heart of the very burning issues of an effective
efficient tax administration system, and specifically, how to properly manage tax administration in Nigeria. 2, the extent to which the tax laws is properly interpreted and implemented. 3, knowing the actual impact of tax revenue on economic growth. 4, whether adequate tax revenue is generated from various taxes through proper tax administration machinery, which translate into economic growth. And 5, tax evasion and avoidance, non-compliance, deficiencies in tax collection system. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, with the Tax Academy Bill, it is envisioned that the development of human resources, management strategy, policies, systems, and procedures that support the achievement of the national tax policy objectives and the development of members of staff through structured training and professional development to be achieved. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, an effective and efficient tax administration system is underpinned by a functional human resources strategy that supports the following. 1, development of human resources management strategy, policies, and systems which fully support the tax administration's business strategy. 2, the tax administration is autonomous in making decisions about recruitment, retention, performance management and assessment, promotion, career progression, training and development, transfer, severance, dismissal, and retirement. 3, human resource policies and practices that motivate, support, and protect employees. 4, a long-term training and development strategy for employees endorsed at top management level. 5, an organizational structure and system to support the delivery of employee training and development needs within the tax administration. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, the Nigerian Tax Academy Bill is designed to promote the attainment of these lofty goals based on a culture and philosophy of training appropriate for repositioning the tax system for economic growth and development. The Academy will provide training, develop standard curriculum for continuing education of tax administrators, facilitate effective service delivery. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, it might interest us to know that other Asian countries such as Japan, China, India, Australia, Singapore, and Malaysia have tax academies which train both tax and custom authorities, as well as private individuals in taxation and finance assessment and management. And their economic performance, especially their tax to GDP ratio, shows a performing system. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, tax revenue as percentage of GDP give a general indication of the success of the tax administration in mobilizing tax revenues. The figure, which should be analyzed over several years, is influenced by many factors, such as macroeconomic policy, tax policy decisions, efficiency and effectiveness of the tax administration, and also the degree of fiscal corruption. A comparatively low tax to GDP ratio in most cases indicates the need to strengthen revenue-raising performance. Nigeria's current tax to GDP ratio of 6% is rated as one of the lowest in the world. The national tax policy identifies some constraints, namely insufficient capacity, which has led to the delegation of powers of revenue officials to third parties, thereby creating complication in the tax system. 2, use of aggressive and unorthodox method for tax collection. 3, failure by tax authorities to honor refund obligations to taxpayers. And 4, the non-regular review of tax legislation, which has led to obsolete laws that do not reflect current economic realities. And 5, lack of strict adherence to tax policy direction and procedural guidelines for the operation of the various tax authorities. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, for effective tax administration, the authorities need to strengthen tax officers' capacity and competencies, both for the frontline operation of assessing and collecting taxes and the back office operation of managing taxpayers' accounts and records. For example, in Japan, the National Tax College provides necessary training to all tax officials. The college consists of main campus and 12 regional training centers, which train new recruits who graduate from high schools and universities and provide training programs for tax officials so they are fully equipped with necessary knowledge and skills for field activities. When established, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, The Nigerian Tax Academy shall develop and implement a curriculum which...
Sorry, hold on. Is there the caucus meeting going on here? Minority Leader. Minority Leader, are you holding another session here? All right, Senator Sabi.
Minority Leader, I will
Put on your microphone.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. President. When established, the Nigerian Tax Academy shall develop and implement a curriculum which include those pertaining to A, the technical aspect of tax collection, administration and compliance with focus on field operations, and B, the career orientation and development for tax personnel. Mr. President, distinguished senators, staff training is a central part of effective tax administration, and in many countries, initial training and education for new recruits are a critical part of staff training policy. Effective tax administration is sustainable only with highly skilled and motivated frontline tax officers. Moreover, staff training and education can serve as a tool for attracting, developing, and retaining talent, which is particularly important for tax administration. Mr. President, the Tax Academy will achieve its outcome by introducing a new and systematic approach to staff training to ensure high-quality standards. The current training policy and system will be reviewed under the Academy with a particular focus.
Yes, Sir Jubre Barao.
Mr. President, I'm Barao Jibril, Kano North. Mr. President, I want to come under Order 56, 9, and 10. With your permission, Mr. President, I read. Whenever a senator is speaking, no senator may converse aloud or make any noise or disturbance to interrupt him. 10. During a sitting, all senators shall be silent and or shall confer only in undertones. Mr. President, the chamber is noisy. Everybody.
Distinguished colleagues, I think the order is sustained. Let us please focus on the work at hand, please. This is a very serious business. Senator Sabi.
Thank you, Mr. President. Now, the bill has 13 sections, which are briefly described as follows. Section 1 provides the declaration of policy. Section 2, establishment of the Nigerian Tax Academy. Section 3 provides the function of the Academy and its powers is captured under Section 4. Section 6 to 10 provides for the governing board, executive officers, the corps of professional instructors and staff appointment to leverage on external expertise from both the public and private sectors. Section 11 provides for authority to enter into training agreements. Section 14 provides for the development of an implementation rules and regulations to guide the operation of the Academy in line with the provisions of this Act. The various agencies involved in tax administration currently provide all forms of training to their staff, and the Nigerian Tax Academy is now expected to structure this training by providing a unified tax training curriculum which focuses on the same national tax policy goals and objectives as captured in the 2016 National Tax Policy document. This will no doubt remove duplication of efforts, create synergy among the MDAs with focus on effective tax system for enhanced government revenue, and promote best practices across the system. In line with the Standing Order 77, subsection 3, the compendium for this bill is attached as Annex 1. In view of the foregoing, I earnestly urge my colleagues to support that this bill be read the second time. I so move, Mr. President. Thank you.
All right, Senator Buhari.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Sorry, after Buhari, we'll take Nala and then Alaso Jura, and then we'll put the question.
President, my name is Buhari Abdel Fattah Oyonot. Mr. President, the issue of tax and the success of any country depend on the country tax administration. In most countries of the world today, particularly the developed world, they depend on whatever tax generation they are able to generate to develop their country. In most cases, when the people goes around in Nigeria, they don't even understand what they are doing about taxation. And that's the essence of this bill, and that's the essence of this academy. The academy is very, very important. It's called retraining, and it can even save the country a lot of foreign exchange instead of going abroad for people to go and trade. In a country like Ghana, Singapore, and Japan, within some certain years, you must be able to go for that retraining in an academy before you are assigned a portfolio of a tax officer. A situation where the person, a revenue collector, does not even know the job he is doing, what will he be able to do, and how can he convince the person is going to tax? In view of this, I'm supporting wholeheartedly this bill by Senator Sabi, so that, and I urge all our colleagues to contribute and pass this bill so that we can have a very good academy where there can be retraining of tax officers. Thank you very much, Mr. President.
Shanala. Thank you very much, Mr. President, and my distinguished colleagues. First, it's important to commend the efforts of distinguished Senator Sabi on this very important bill. Mr. President, the reason why Sabi deserves commendation is that his bill is an attempt to put the tax administration in this country to measure up to civilized standard. As of today, Nigeria has one of the most complex and most confused tax administration. Nigeria remains the only democracy today where no citizen can reasonably predict what amount of tax is required to pay at any given time. So the whim and caprices of those who are in authority determines what we are going to pay, which makes planning very, very difficult. It is so bad that while in all democracies, citizens are not imposed with any tax until it is approved by Parliament, in Nigeria, anybody can wake up and impose taxes on citizens. And because of the complex nature and the big population that we have in the country, it has become even more confusing, sir. That today, one of the major drawbacks that we have as a country is interstate taxation of trade and commerce. So you pick something from Enugu with the intention of selling it in Sokoto, you are likely going to pay about 10 different taxes along the way. This is not helpful, Mr. President. I therefore think that an attempt to put this type of academy in place where a properly guided curricula can be developed to streamline our system of tax administration will be a very, very welcome development for the country, Mr. President. Take it that in all civilized countries, sir, authorities with power to tax will always have recourse to the Parliament for those taxes to be approved. And tax issues has always been one of the key issues in determining elections in most civilized societies, sir. But you will notice that in Nigeria, it does not play any significant role at all because the Parliament has laid back and has given authority to people who have no reason whatsoever to exercise that authority, to begin to tax individuals, to begin to tax companies, to promote multiple taxation, in fact, it is even so confusing that today, I will give you an example. There is what is referred to as taxation of federal government instrumentalities. Federal government is eager to tax the states for services rendered by it to the states, but they are not too willing to pay the state taxes where the state is giving them a corresponding services. For example, take out all the federal government installations scattered all over the country. Federal government does not pay tax. And I think if we have a very, very unique and standard tax administration put in place, Nigeria will benefit more from it. And that is the more reason why I said service bill is very, very important and we must encourage it. Just last week, I was having a debate with one of the custom officers. I said, yes, you collect your duties based on the target set for you by the federal government. So whether the tax is legal or not, that's what you have decided to do because you have a target met somewhere.
Whether it is legal or not, the citizens are made to pay. And I think this is not right, sir. In other countries, sir, when you go and buy products and you want to take the product out of the country, you are entitled to VAT. And we have all seen this practice all over. This we do not have. And I think in order to protect our citizens and to move towards civilized standard of doing this, the proposal by distinguished Senator Sabi is reasonably necessary at this stage of our development as a country. So I so second this motion and this bill, and I urge my colleagues to allow it to pass second reading so that justice can be done to the
Senator Lasadure.
Thank you, Mr. President. My name is Senator Tayo Alashu Adura, representing Ondo Central Senatorial District. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I wish to oppose this bill in its entirety because in Nigeria, we already have 3 organizations that deal with taxation. We have the Nigerian Institute of Taxation, we have the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Nigeria, and we also have ANAN. All these people work on tax matters in this country. My fear is that we keep on creating organizations over organizations that will be financed by government at the end of the day. And yet we complain every day about not having enough money for our capital development. There is no organization that will be created that will not have personnel, that will not have overhead, and so on and so forth. So if we have 3 organizations that are already organizing and ensuring training in taxation matters in this country, why are we going to create another one? I think what we need is how to ensure that the laws are properly executed. We should also ensure that we review these laws at very good intervals, because a situation where the same law, is effective for 20 years without...
Distinguished Senator, I hope you're not mixing up taxation matters with accounting matters. Put back your microphone. Put back your microphone.
Taxation in Nigeria is not an accounting institution, but I just mentioned ICANN and ANAN because they also train people on taxation. So the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Nigeria is the right body to be saddled with taxation matters in the country. Thank you, sir.
Jubril.
Thank you, Mr. President. I am Barrow Jibrin. I represent Kano North. Let me first of all commend the sponsor of this bill for bringing up this bill at this time of our national development. As an accountant, I know the importance of this kind of academy in making sure that we're able to achieve our target as canvassed, has been propagated by this government, the legislature and the executive alike. Diversifying our economy in relation to earning more revenue to drive our national development. Mr. President, I know that taxation is taught in our schools, in the universities. Anybody who goes through training as an accountant certainly will be trained in the area of taxation, as really talked about by my learned friend, Senator Alasha Adura. But we're in a desperate situation, a situation where we want to make money, more money, diversify our economy, really enhance our tax to GDP ratio. So the more the merrier. If we are going to get more schools in order to train our manpower to really drive this target of making more money through the diversification of our economy, making money through taxation, through taxes, I think is something that we should welcome. It is necessary, that will have the necessary manpower. If you don't have the manpower, you can't really achieve what you want to achieve in that area. So I think the more the merrier. Let's have more institutions. We're a large country. This country is a large country. We're talking about 200 million people with different business entities. We are undertaxing our areas that we need to tax and make money from. So the more, the merrier. We should get this bill passed so that we can have a means of training our manpower to drive home our target of making more money through taxation.
Is there any person against this bill? Okay. Distinguished colleagues, I want to thank you for your contributions. And I think that the issue of taxation is becoming very central in the administration of any country. And that's why in Europe and most countries, you see tax increasing every day. And in America, it is usually election issues. So, and as we begin to notice the dwindling fortune in the oil and gas sector, we must also strengthen other areas of revenue, and taxation is one area that's certain. So I think it is also important that we train people who should be also very conversant and well educated in the issue of tax matters. So I believe that this academy will help in creating that pool, of resource persons that will help us, to devise new ways of making money as we notice the dwindling fortune of the country in terms of revenue from oil and gas. So I think we need to equip ourselves sufficiently in order to look for alternative means, of also financing the development of this country. And tax is also one area, I believe, that is yet untapped or that has not been sufficiently tapped that can help to improve our revenue earning. So I want to thank all those who have contributed, and I do hope that we expedite action on this bill so that the academy will come into force as quickly as possible. So those in support that this be taken the second time, say aye. Aye. Those against, say nay. Those in support that this will be taken the second time, say aye. Aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Clerk of Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, a bill for an act to establish the Nigerian Tax Academy in order to provide training, develop standard curriculum for continuing education of tax administrators and collectors to facilitate effective service delivery and for other related matters, 2017, second reading.
Dear colleagues, a bill for an act to establish the Nigerian Tax Academy in order to provide training, develop standard curriculum for continued education of tax administrators and collectors to facilitate effective service delivery and for other related matters, 2017, second reading taken. It's referred to the Committee on Finance to report back in 4 weeks. State Leader.
Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, the fourth order of the day, the second reading of Agricultural Research Council of Nigeria Amendment Bill 2017. Distinguished senators will recall that the bill was read the first time in this chamber on Thursday, the 9th of March 2017. Mr. President, you may wish to invite Senator Abdullah Adamu to move the motion for the bill to be read a second time.
Senator Abdullah Adamu.
I don't know why they delayed it.
You can proceed. No, go ahead, they'll get it.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. I am Senator Dr. Abdullah Adamu, CON, and I represent Nasarawa West Senatorial District. It is my duty, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, to lead the debate on the general principles of a bill for an act to amend the Agricultural Research Council of Nigeria and for other matters connected therewith, 2017 SB 315. Mr. President, distinguished senators, the background to the Agricultural Research Council of Nigeria, ARCN Act, was enacted in 1999, but effective takeoff of the council was in 2006, with the statutory mandate of coordinating, supervising,
and regulating agricultural research, training, and extension in the 15 national agricultural research institutions and the 11 federal colleges of agriculture under the Federal Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development. The existing structure and organization in the National Agricultural Council system is not sufficiently effective in responding to the government's demand for cost-effective management, generation of appropriate technologies, agricultural growth, and the improved livelihoods of the rural poor. The key sections which the bill seeks to amend: Section 2 of the Act, the Governing Council; Section 4, remunerations and allowances; Section 5, functions of the Council; Section 6, appointment of the Executive Secretary and other staff of the Council; Section 7, application of the Pension Reform Act 2004; Section 8, establishment of the National Agricultural and Extension Endowment Fund; Section 8, insertion of new Part 6, and then Section 17. This amendment seeks to pull all staff of research institutes under the control and management of ARCN for effectiveness and repeal the National Agricultural Research Institutes Act 1964 and Research Institutes Establishment, etc. Order of 1975. First schedule, committees of the board. The bill seeks to establish a Science and Technical Research Committee and the Agricultural Sciences Recruitment Board to be saddled with the recruitment of scientists for the system. Second schedule, governing boards of research institutes. Insertion of new third schedule. This bill seeks to allow the Council to give policy directions to the colleges, properly enshrine the establishment of the colleges in the ARCN Act, and list the federal colleges in a new third schedule to the Act, thereby making the colleges backed by enabling law. Justification for the amendments. Agriculture constitutes one of the important sectors of Nigeria's economy. This is because Nigeria has highly diversified agroecological regions, which make the production of a wide range of agricultural products possible. The agricultural sector currently employs a significant portion of the labor force, source of export revenue earning, and contributes over 20% of domestic product GDP. Ironically, in spite of this agricultural resource and technical endowment, as well as several interventions by successive administrations, Nigerian agricultural sector has been operating far below its potential because the research institutes or centers are not well coordinated and strengthened. Mr. President, distinguished guests, this bill seeks to eliminate: 1, the multiplicity of governing boards, as individual governing boards for research institutes and federal colleges of agriculture have often led to high cost of governance and over-bloating of the system, often with inappropriately qualified staff. 2, unwarranted administrative and bureaucratic interference. 3, absence of proper alignment of the role of colleges within the training extensions, research extension nexus context. Lack of alignment of the system of operation of university-based research institutes with other research institutes in the field. The seeming brain drain from the RI, including the Federal Colleges of Agriculture, to the universities due to better conditions of service in the latter. Recent erroneous declassification of ARCN Secretariat from being a research organization by office of the head of civil service of the Federation. And 7, insufficient and inconsistent funding of research programs in the National Agricultural Research Institute and core middle-level manpower activities of the FCA. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, it is instructive to note that most countries that make a significant landmark in agricultural development have a well-coordinated and structured research council. For instance, the Indian Council of Agricultural Research ICA, Brazil Agricultural Research Corporation, Embrapa, Chinese Academy of Agricultural Science, CAS, Chinese Academy of Tropical Agricultural Sciences, CATAS, the Pakistani Agricultural Research Council, PAC, and the Indonesian Agency for Agricultural Research and Development, ARD, are examples of managing councils in their respective countries. They are saddled with the responsibility for coordinating funding and managing research programs and enjoy autonomy in planning and executing research so as to best utilize the available resources. Agriculture is driven by technologies, and technologies are in turn generated by research. Agriculturally advanced countries are only so advanced because of a workable and well-funded agricultural research system. Mr. President and my dear colleagues, the amendment of this act has come at the right time when the country is focusing on the diversification of the economy. No doubt, the agricultural sector will be a major field player in this regard. It is therefore apt to strengthen the mandate and powers of the Agricultural Research Council of Nigeria so that they can coordinate, manage, and articulate the needed research into agricultural production that can guarantee food security in the country and in the long run ensure export opportunities. In line with our Standing Order 77 Sub 3, this bill does not have any financial implication on the government as the structures for the operations are already in place. Once again, I thank you, Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, for your attention and urge you to support this bill for the second reading and ensure its accelerated passage.
Well, thanks, Senator Sabi.
Thank you, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues. This bill is very important and critical. Incidentally, Mr. President, I was in ARCN up to 2014, and I am indeed very conversant with the challenges the mover of this bill actually elaborated. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, as we have already keyed into the present diversification effort of government, all of us are in total agreement that agriculture is the way out. And if we must strengthen agriculture, the key driver of agricultural productivity is research. And countries that have recorded tremendous progress in their agricultural research system were able to achieve that because of the strong and robust agricultural research system they have. It might interest you, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, to note that, for example, Embrapa, that was mentioned in this lead debate, was responsible for leapfrogging the production of agricultural commodities in Brazil to the extent that today they were able to lift more than 30 million people out of poverty. Today, Brazil has one of the best school feeding programs. This was made possible because of the technologies developed by their research system for production across the entire, rural areas of Brazil. And so what you see there is production that is linked to activities. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, what we have in Nigeria today has not fly to the extent we want to see it flying. And I think the key issue here is we've been a coordinating, and sometimes when you coordinate, you are limited. This bill seeks to move the research system to a managing research system so that there will be central planning, and with central planning, there will now be local implementation at the level of the research institutes. This will enable us to remove duplication. It will enable us to create synergy so that when researchers are carrying out research work, they are convinced this research work is going to key in to the national development goal of food security, for example, or providing raw materials for industry, or even developing commodities that are very critical for export. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I support the amendments here, and I would like to make further clarification by saying that in bringing out a management system, the idea is not to kill the research institutes, but to strengthen them so that they are working in synergy. Currently, what one can say is that the research institutes are operating like silos. The level of connection between them is very poor. But with this amendment, it will become possible for us to be able to create that synergy that will allow them to work together and complement one another. The idea of the Scientist Recruitment Board that has been introduced is to enable us, give opportunity. We have over 40 faculties of agriculture in Nigeria. We have 3 universities of agriculture. We produce a number of graduates, but currently you cannot see how these graduates are moving into the research system because there is no such system for them. So the idea here is to enable our very young, brilliant graduates from the various faculties of agriculture to have the opportunity to come into our research system. I so second this, what did they call it?
We'll take Senator Sam Egwu and then Senate Leader will put the question.
Thank you, Mr. President. My name is Senator Sam Egwu. I represent Ebonyi North. Well, I tend to appreciate the mover of this motion because of his interest in trying to move research institutes forward. I have my own observations, especially with the aspect of eliminating multiplicity of governing boards as individual governing boards for research institutes. Because according to the bill, high cost of governance. Mr. President, I was a research officer. In fact, after my first degree, I joined an Nigerian Research Institute. I was in Medugri, National Research Institute. I also know we have a lot of research institutes that have specific mandates. Nihot in Ibadan, Sirius in Zaria. We also have root crops in Umudike. They have specific functions and specific duties. It's not like universities that have individual boards, governing boards. So I wonder a situation where you now have a single board for the 15 institutes and the 11 colleges of agriculture. That will make a mess of the entire institute and universities. So, Mr. President, I do not think that because of costs, then the main purpose of establishing these institutes will be forgotten. Better management of individual institutes is what we should seek for, and not lumping all the institutes, all the colleges of agriculture to be under one board. It is not possible, and it will defeat the purpose for establishing these institutes. So while I commend my friend, who is a great farmer, I want to let him know that research institutes are very, very important. The difference between institutes and universities is that universities do research and also teaching, while research institutes only do research. And as a matter of fact, there's no basic difference between both of them. So if universities will have their own different governing councils, I wonder why that should not apply to research institutes. So I want to say that in as much as I support the streamlining and efforts to move the research institute forward, I do not think that eliminating individual but governing councils of the institute will solve the problem. So this is the area where I disagree with the move of the bill.
State Leader.
Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, I'm alone, you're North. Mr. President, let me, right from the onset, express my total support for the amendments we sought in this bill, and also commend the sponsor of the bill. Mr. President, we need very effective and efficient agricultural research institutes in this country. Mr. President, this administration particularly emphasizes on diversification of the economy. And of course, agriculture is seen as one sure gateway, an avenue for us to diversify the economy, not only to provide ourselves with the food that we need to eat, but also create wealth and employment opportunities for our people. Yesterday, I was privileged to be in a place where the Minister of Agriculture informed us that the first set of exports of yams to Europe was done last month or so. And that created a lot of opportunities, especially in Benue State. I watched a program too last night where yam growers and producers and merchants are expressing their happiness with what is happening now in the agriculture sector. Sir, I was a chairman, House Committee on Agriculture at a particular time, and I saw how productive some animals, particularly the cows and other smaller livestock remnants, could be elsewhere outside Nigeria. In Europe, in one milking session of a cow, you could get maybe what a cow in Nigeria could produce in 6 months or even 1 year. This is not by coincidence. This is because in Europe and other developed countries, they believe in research and the products have always been useful. Our yields per hectare in Nigeria for the various crops, cassava, maize, sorghum, name it, are still low because we have stuck ourselves with those very traditional seeds and we hardly do or adopt our researches. Elsewhere, maybe in Brazil, let me talk about the embrapa. In Brazil, the yield per hectare for cassava is about 40 metric tons. In Nigeria, maybe between 5 and 7 metric tons. This is product of research. So we need to have our research institutes properly governed, properly focused, and properly funded. And this administration, with the support of everybody, including our brothers and sisters from the PDP and other parties, we owe it to our people to ensure that we provide the means and avenues for ourselves to eat what we produce and also sell either within the country or export so that we earn foreign exchange. With this, Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, I urge all my colleagues here, and many of us are farmers. Many, of course, are absentee farmers, but there are still those who practice the real farming, including the chairman, that we pass this bill for second reading and, of course, subsequently the third reading so that we give the executive arm of government the chance to do what we think is right for this country. Thank you very much for the privilege.
Sorry, finally, let's take Yahaya.
Thank you, Mr. President. While supporting this bill, Mr. President, my distinguished colleagues, I will urge the Commission on Agriculture that is going to look at this bill, together maybe the Commission on Science and Technology, to be very, very careful that we do not throw away the baby with the bathwater. Like Dr. Sam Egu had said, Mr. President, I was also a product of an agricultural research institute. I was for 22 years as staff of the Institute for Agricultural Research at Bello University in the Faculty of Agriculture there. Now, like he said, a lot of these research institutes have their own specializations. There are general agricultural research institutes that deal with all sorts of agriculture and farming systems. There are also crop-based agricultural research institutes. There are also agricultural research institutes that deal with storage, like the one in Ilori. Like also research institutes that deal with agricultural technology and development of agricultural implements. Now, these specializations in these institutions have to be taken care of when you come to constitute the administrative structure for the management of research in these institutions. Not one size fits all the peculiarities of the institutions we are talking about. The university-based agricultural research institutions like the one I have experience in are unique.
Well, deliberations are still ongoing on this bill sponsored by Senator representing Nasarawa West, Senator Abdullahi Adamu, on the amendments to the Agricultural Research Council of Nigeria. So far, 2 bills have passed for second reading. That's for a bill for an act to establish the Nigerian Tax Academy, sponsored by Senator representing Niger North, distinguished Senator Aliu Abdullahi, and also passing for second reading was a bill for an act to establish the Federal Polytechnic Silame, Sokoto State, sponsored by Senator Aliu Wamako, representing Sokoto North. Earlier in the sitting, it is probably expected that the lawmakers were in consensus that President Muhammadu Buhari's assent to the passage of the Northeast Development Commission Bill of 2017 is the beginning of a change of fortunes for the better for indigents of the Northeast. However, there were some words of caution by some senators in that similar commissions have been established in the past with the desired results not being fully realized. Therefore, the emphasis has been on the focus being on achieving the primary mandate and focus of the establishment of the Northeast Development Commission Bill. And to this end, the federal government is urged to make adequate financial provisions for during the 2018 budget for the appropriate and effective establishment and takeoff of the Northeast Development Commission. It is on this note we've come to the end of this broadcast from the Senate on today's chambers, and my name is Dennis Adigunle. On behalf of the entire Outside Broadcasting crew, thank you for watching.